Hey guys, this is Ray with First Down Sports. I'm sitting here with our producer, Andy. How's it going?
How's it going, eh?
Awesome. Now, if you like our videos, make sure you press subscribe right here.
Exactly. And if you like this upcoming video, make sure you click like. It's down in this region somewhere, and you can leave a comment there too.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to First Down Sports. As always, I'm your host, Ray Dunn. Sitting down at the far end of the table tonight is not my only brother, Chris Dunn.
How's it going, eh?
Thank you.
I had to think about that.
That's good.
Is he trying to insult me?
Yeah.
Also,
Was that a dig or?
Also to my left is our producer, Andy Jardine.
Yo.
Sitting back at the back table is our sound and audio man, Nick Dunn.
Hey.
Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Now, we got a big show here tonight. We've got a guest that we're going to be introducing on later in the show. But before we get to that, we've got a number of topics to get to. But we have to introduce our sponsors first. If it's a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday night, you need to get yourself a beer. Make sure you go out and get yourself a Moose Light. The stuff is scary good.
So scary.
Scary good. And if you're a sports team, an organization, a company, you need hats, shirts, jackets, ties,
A shipping company.
you name it. You go see our buddies the Doyles at Doyle's Corporate Image.
Those rule.
Doyle rules.
And lastly, if your kitchen sucks, and you know most likely it does,
Probably.
you have to go see my little brother Nikki's company. That's Done Right Buffalo Sauce. This stuff is going to spice up your kitchen.
Spice up your life.
Fix it up.
Fix it. Just fix it.
All right, let's jump into some local sports, guys. We got some big topics to talk about in local sports.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
This is the official kickoff weekend for the AUS university football across the country, actually.
Yes.
Nice.
And the interesting thing is, normally the AUS doesn't start until the following weekend, but because they have bishops in their conference this year, they're starting the same week as the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So week one is starting.
Are there even classes happening yet?
No, the students aren't even there yet.
Right, so
they arrive next week.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool.
So this Friday night, under Friday Night Lights in Halifax, we have St. FX playing at St. Mary's. And then on Saturday, which is the game I'm participating in, it's Acadia plays against Mount A at 2 o'clock. That's going to be a fantastic game.
Nice.
My Mounties.
My mountain.
Go Mounties.
I had the pleasure last week to work a preseason game between the Mounties, St. FX, and University of Guelph was there. And I can tell you, out of the three teams, Guelph was pretty good. They had a kid that kicked a 57-yard field goal.
Wow.
He had a little bit of wind
Nice.
behind him, but he nailed it. Just cleared the bar by about 2-3 feet, but he made it 57 yards. That's a big kick for a university player.
Big time, yeah.
Nice.
But Mount A looks fantastic.
Good.
They have a wide receiver. He comes from Moncton High, and his number's number 84. His name is Josh Hicks. This kid is amazing. He looks mid-season form. He's big. He's got hands. He's fast. He's a great wide receiver. So he looks great. Now, that being said, heading into this game against Acadia this week, he may get a special matchup against his buddy, also from Moncton High, Rory Kelly,
Whoa.
who's a defensive back with Acadia. So you might see two buddies from Moncton High head-to-head this week. That would be great.
Yeah, Ray, I don't know if you know, but I was checking the roster on Mount A's website, and they've got 3 quarterbacks. 2 of them are about 5'10", and one of them is about 6'10".
Yeah.
Is it the tall guy starting this year?
No, it's not. It's number 7 will be their starter there.
Okay, all right.
He's an excellent quarterback. The only thing I'm a little... He when he gets the ball, he'll drop back and then he'll take 2 seconds and like he ducks before he throws it. I don't know if he's trying to throw but it's cost some time sometimes in making that decision.
Gotcha.
But they look fantastic. He's got a great arm on him, that quarterback. So that's going to be a great game to kick off. And we're going to be talking about the AUS as well as local high school football, which starts in 2 weeks throughout the season. We'll give you guys updates on how those leagues look. Okay.
Number 7, that's Kyle McLean.
Kyle McLean.
Kyle
There you
McLean.
go. Great job, Chris. Great job.
6'2". He's 6'2".
Okay. All right. Got my stats not correct. All right.
There you go. All right. Now, one other local sports thing I have to get into.
And this is the big one.
The regular season finished this week at Mountain Woods.
Go.
And all the number 2 teams played against the number 1 teams
Okay.
in each division. So heading into Division 2, we're currently in second place, and we're taking on this young team, Jeremy Richard and Pierre-Luc Mallet. Now, Pierre-Luc's a pretty quiet kid, great golfer. He's a 10 handicap. But his buddy Jeremy, he loves to ride us. He's been giving us the gears. And we started on hole number 13. We played 9 holes. Both teams go par, par, par. Heading into number 16, both Marty and I pull off 2 birdies. I put the ball about 2 inches from the hole. And just before Jeremy he was about 74 yards out. And behind the green, there's a big pond. And I said, is there water behind the green? Sure enough, he put it right in there.
Nice.
Little bit of trash talk.
Nice shot, Jeremy.
Then Marty and I birdied the next hole. We had par. We had 2 more birdies, and Team Dunn and Rye finished up with a -4 for the night. We're first place heading into the playoffs. So
Excellent.
there's your Mountain Woods update for all you Mountain Woods listeners, because I know you're listening.
Nick, do you want this after?
What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey,
Go ahead.
first place. Division 2 back-to-back champions. We're working on it right now. We're working on it.
This is big time stuff.
All right, let's get into some odds and ends. We're going to have our interview later on, so let's get into some various sports topics here tonight, all right?
Yep.
The NFL is coming right around the corner. We're going to be talking football like crazy, but tonight we're going to talk about a number of different topics. And Andy, I'm going to let you tell us the significance of this first one. In the NBA today, big trade. The Cavaliers trade Kyle Irving to the Celtics. In return, they get Isaiah Thomas, they get Joe Crowder, some other kid, and a draft pick.
Yeah. I know you guys are huge basketball fans, but no, this is probably one of the biggest blockbuster trades in the NBA in a long time. The two, a lot would argue, the only relevant teams in the entire Eastern Conference. The Cavs, clearly the reigning champs and the ones looking down at everybody else. And the Celtics, who are now regarded as the only ones to really have a chance. Kyrie Irving, who's probably the second best player on the Cavs, demanded a trade. They, him and LeBron aren't seeing eye to eye or so on, and they managed to get like one of the leading scorers in the NBA, Isaiah Thomas, not related to the former.
Yeah.
And Crowder's a great wing defender that will help them a lot when they have to face Kevin Durant next year.
Yeah.
And the key ingredient to this whole deal is they get the Brooklyn Nets first-round pick that the Celtics were holding, which is guaranteed to be good because I don't know if you know much about the Brooklyn Nets, but
they're not strong. I know that.
They are the Cleveland Browns practice squad of the NBA.
Wow.
So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I again, it doesn't make the Eastern Conference any more interesting because the same 2 teams that were at the top are still at the top.
Yeah.
But you never see this happen. I don't know what to expect. Doesn't make me much more excited about the NBA, but yeah, it was a big deal.
Question. So you're the basketball expert. I've seen Irving play, and I think that he's dynamite. But I've seen a little bit of Isaiah Thomas too, and it seems to me, again, I don't follow as much as you, but they seem like very similar players.
Yeah,
I would almost, from what I've seen, I would have thought those 2 players are pretty at par. I just see a lot of stuff being thrown out for some two players that are very similar, it feels like.
The Celtics gave up an awful lot. In the end, what it came down to was Kyrie demanded a trade, right? And I mean, he was probably still going to show up, but the Cavs knew that why not try to make a move because, yes, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference, but they still can't compete with the Western Conference. So you're right, Chris. Isaiah Thomas is pretty close. Kyrie is a much more potent scorer. Kyrie is clearly the better of the 2 players, but Isaiah Thomas is an up-and-coming star.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can be the man and lead his team to victory, so hopefully he can have some chemistry with the rest of the Cavs. But you're right, they gave up a lot. I think what was really holding up the deal was that first round, like the Nets' first-round pick, which is not protected, so it's going to be in the lottery. It's going to be really good.
Nice.
And the fact that they got that, a wonderful move. So
Awesome. Let's get into some Buffalo Bills news.
Oh,
yeah.
So after a huge signing about 2.5 weeks ago, Anquan Boldin decides he's going to retire. It was the quickest Bills tenure that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So, Chris, why don't you lead us off? Give us your thoughts on this move here.
I've tried to analyze this a little bit, but we'll never really know. Like he's going to do the politically correct thing and say that there's other social factors out there of why he's left the game. There's another whole faction of people that are saying that it's because of them trading away their top receiver. Now he's demotivated. Why did I come to Buffalo? Now I'm out of here. Who knows? You know what?
Yeah.
I don't think Bolden, like as much as he's a good receiver, still at 37. If you're relying on a 37-year-old receiver to put you way over the top, then there's bigger problems with your organization. So I don't think it's as big as a factor as everyone else is saying.
I really don't either. I mean, you're still going to have Matthews. Matthews says he's going to be good to go week 1.
That's right.
Now we're going to get to see more of Zay Jones right off the bat.
Yeah.
And Andre Holmes on the outside. I think Andre Holmes brings you what Bolden would have brought you anyways.
He had 80 touches with the Raiders, I think 2 seasons ago, before Amari Cooper and Crabtree made it there. So
Yeah, I think all you lose here is a really good locker room guy and a veteran to help.
Yeah.
To help these young guys that now you get to see a little bit more of. I mean, there was a precedent here. I mean, Andrew Hawkins, former, him and the Browns came to a mutual agreement for him to be released. He ends up going from football hell to football heaven, being signed by the New England Patriots. And before training camp even started, he said, "Nah, I've got other things to do with my life," and retired. This is a little different where you actually take the time to join a team in the middle of training camp. I mean, you clearly want to play when you're doing that. So I do think what happened in Buffalo and your new GM making these moves for the future as opposed to the now factored into this.
Yeah.
But why not? I don't think that reflects poorly on the Bills organization and that it's super dysfunctional or anything like that. It's just Anquan Boldin thought, all right, Tyrod Taylor, solid quarterback. We got really good nucleus on offense, so on. I could probably be the missing piece that's worth playing this year. And then when that move happened, it was probably enough to push the other things in his life ahead. So,
And one quick thing on it is that I checked on some of the training camp. That there's some people that really are diehard on the training camp, and they said that he looked a little slow this year. So who knows? One of the things could have been like, geez, I'm really missing a step this year. I don't want to go out. Now I'm going to come in and have like a horrible season. Why ruin my legacy?
He's a borderline Hall of Famer. He's a class act. We'll never know if there was a problem there.
Before we leave the Bills, I just want to talk about one thing real quick. If there's one player that is really impressing me in training camp so far in the first 2 preseason games, this 5th-round quarterback that the Bills selected in Nathan Peterman. This kid looks fantastic. He's 23 for 45, 279 yards with a touchdown, no interceptions. But every game, every series he's in there, he looks more and more confident. Yeah. I would not be surprised after the next preseason game. I may even be riding this guy's coattail to start at some point this season, depending on how the season's looking. If the Bills get off to an 0-4 start, I mean, Tyrod's not the future in Buffalo. Let's see what this kid can do. What do you think?
Well, listen, we've had the same thing with EJ Manuel when he was with us, and we had a similar thing happen with Jeff Toole. Jeff Toole, I don't think he's even in the league anymore.
Jeff Toole. He came in and looked like, oh, this is the guy. We got to go with this guy. It's preseason.
No, I'm not
picking.
I realize that, but he looks very poised. And go back and look at his highlight reel from University of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
This kid can play ball. Kid can play ball.
A lot of people regarded him as one of the more NFL-ready quarterbacks. I thought the Browns were going to target him when they didn't take anybody in the first round. Yeah, you know what? You never know when you're going to strike gold. You're right. I don't think Tyrod's the future, but he is definitely he's the answer.
Now. He's the now. He's the now. But like I said, if the Bills get off to an 0-4 start,
nothing wrong with having this kid around. There's nothing wrong.
This is why though teams should always be stacked. Like some people, what a waste of a pick. We picked a quarterback up in the 4th, 3rd, and you hear like some fan base
every year.
Well, you got to and that's why you stockpile. You never know where you're going to strike gold.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's get into OBJ. So Odell Beckham Jr. in a preseason game goes up for a pass and gets leveled by Brody Calhoun.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, Brian
Bodie Calhoun.
Brian Body Calhoun, one of the weirder names in the NFL. You did well with
took him right out at the knees. What do you think, Andy? This is your team. Is it a legal hit? What do you got here?
Well, it's a perfectly legal hit. But that being said, so the moment this happened, here's the narrative went in two directions. Number one, even though it's a legal hit, and the rules in the NFL right now is you cannot hit a guy high. So where are you supposed to go? You have to go low. You want to try to go mid body, but the fact that Eli threw that ball so high and Odell had to go up, what are you going to do, right? So there's was that a dirty play? Did that go against some sort of unspoken rule amongst players that in the preseason where nothing really matters, do you do that, right? But the other half of that is, what was Odell doing in this game?
Right.
Preseason game 2. And that's the problem with the preseason, and it's something that we have to figure out, or they have to figure out, is the NFL needs a development league, and they need a place for guys to develop. And here's the thing. You got a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who's an absolute superstar in the league, going up against this young, hungry kid that's doing everything he can to impress his defensive coordinator and make the team, because he may never get another chance.
Exactly.
And an injury like this can happen. But I can tell you something. His defensive coordinator, he doesn't want to hurt Odell Beckham, but he loved that tackle.
Yeah.
It was a perfectly legal hit. I don't think it was dirty. It was just a young, hungry kid doing what he has to do to get a job. And it's unfortunate, but again, should he even be in the game? What is the preseason?
The thing is, when you really slow down the play, I mean, he does hits him right at the knee, but Odell's foot sticks in the turf.
Oh, yeah.
His foot doesn't release. It's the sticking of his foot in the turf that really hurt him.
It's the high ankle sprain.
Well,
listen, I think Ben McAdoo, that New York Giants head coach, said it the best. He goes, "Look, these guys are lining players up. They're getting penalized to be hitting up top, so he hits low. So where's else he going to hit? He didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah,
I think it's a non-topic. He got a stinger and he'll be all right.
It goes to the bigger question we have to figure out at some point is just, what is the preseason for anymore? Is it just a revenue stream? Is it actually to develop your team? What is it for anymore? Because the mix of these two players, the superstars that shouldn't even be playing, and the guys trying to make a team, it's not that. This is going to happen.
I may get hosed for this, but I think that the preseason is actually very important. Those couple quarters to have the veterans start to gel, I think is a very important thing.
I do, but I think 4 is too much. It should be 2 games max.
Yeah, but why not? But why not? Why does it have to be all the start? I think and you usually see it. The last game, you don't see any starters. So it's really 3 games that they're going. Get some chemistry, and then let's see who makes the roster in the last game.
And this is just a risk you have to take. So,
well, listen, on all the talk shows I've been listening to, they're all talking about the fact that players shouldn't be able to hit receivers from the knee down. And I just want to, from an officiating standpoint, one of the toughest positions to play in the NFL is DB.
Absolutely, especially now.
It is so tough. You can't clutch and grab on the line anymore. In the NFL, they have 5 yards space. Once that receiver breaks 5 yards, you can't touch that receiver.
Yeah.
And right now, you can't make any head contact. If you take away the knees, that's the knee. And then I'm not sure if you guys have ever read the rules around the defenseless player. If a player's up in the air and he's looking back for a ball, and you come in and hit him from the backside, that's a flag. Mm-hmm. That's a tough call for a DB to hold off until he's got possession of the ball.
Yeah.
The whole defenseless player, it is so tough for officials to make those judgment calls.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're talking about the sport of football. This is not basketball. It's not a non-con. And I know basketball is a contact sport. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. But
very contact.
But football is a tough sport. It's 2 big teams out there fighting for possession of the ball. And I just don't know where football goes from here. I mean, the whole trouble with concussions, the whole bit, but
you're right. The entire point of football for one half of the game, or the defensive side of the game, is to make contact, is to hit people, right? And when you take the instinctual part of it out of it, what do you have left?
Exactly.
So I mean, we might as well just put flags on both sides of receivers now and just pull the flag. So what are you gonna do?
It's
anyway.
going. Who knows?
Yep.
In 15 years from now, we may be watching the NFL flag football.
No, that won't happen.
Well, all right, let's
Yeah,
talk about Le'Veon Bell. So he turns down a big contract this week, and Pittsburgh was shocked. The management team was shocked that he didn't take the contract.
Yeah.
Now he's tweeted out, no formal announcement yet, but he's tweeted on Twitter that he's going to return to camp September 1st after the last preseason game. What do you think? What do you think this is? Is this going to have any impact on his years? What I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast on the way over here today, actually, and they were they had some sounders of Big Ben talking about it. Like, there's a difference between being in shape and being in football shape. And who's the funny coach too? Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards was saying too, like, you need 3 weeks to get into football shape. This guy's going to have like 3 days or something like that. So
He'll be fine.
I think he's going to be okay for the season, but this does set him back. Thankfully, they have the Browns week 1. They may not even need him to play. But yeah, I think it definitely sets you back not being with your team and not at least being out there to get in football shape. But running back is the easiest position in the NFL to get up to speed.
Well, look if you rewind it to last year, he was off for 4 games.
Yeah.
Came back and was a beast. So he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'll challenge there,
Yeah.
the only thing I'll challenge is he doesn't just line up as a running back. There's a lot of times he lines up in the slot beside the tight end for passing patterns.
Agree.
He's going to have a little rust there for the first couple games on timing patterns, don't you think?
Oh yeah, that and just being in football shape. I think maybe 15 to 20 touches for the first couple games.
Then
he's right back to normal.
Sorry, Randy. I got a quick take on it. I think what's my theory of what's going to happen with Bell is that the focus is on Ben. So Ben looked at saying, I may retire this last year. Mm-hmm. Why not just take the cap, take the franchise tag, and then explore what your options are, because they're not going to tag him again. The increase on a running back for the second year on the tag is astronomical. They're not going to tag him the second year.
Well, there's that, Chris, but they lowballed him. The offer was a lowball based on who he is, the player. But the problem is his health and dependability. The guy started the last 2 seasons suspended, right?
Yeah.
So he makes stupid mistakes off the field. In Pittsburgh, I mean, listen, Pittsburgh's as much as I hate them, they're a classy organization. They've had 2 head coaches in the last 40 years. Like, ownership really holds people to task, and they're just not ready to commit to this guy with like a top running back salary that he deserves. He should be the highest paid runner in the NFL history right now. They're not ready for that. So he's saying, I get it. So let's rock this year, right?
That's right. Yeah. And walk away the next.
Yep.
Well, here's my biggest thing heading into, because I know I have my first fantasy draft tomorrow night. Okay?
Nice.
So let's talk Bell. We got Elliott, which we still don't know what's going on with Elliott. Mm-hmm. And now Odell. So in our mock draft, Bell went 2nd overall.
Yep.
5th overall goes Beckham, and then Elliott went in the 2nd round by myself, which was a genius move. But are these guys?
Of course.
Are these guys sliding now? Like Bell goes 2nd overall. Are we still taking Bell 2nd overall at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. He's the only guy not sliding for me right now.
Okay. What about Odell Beckham? He's 5th overall.
Oh, that would be so hard. The only way he slides for me is I probably would have taken Odell, before Julio or the Tampa Bay kid there.
Yeah.
Mike Evans. I might be tempted to grab one of those other 2 guys before Odell, because the high ankle sprain is one of the worst. Like, a lot of coaches will just say the moment you hear high ankle, it's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Now Odell is a physical freak and he may come back, but yeah, I think he slides a little bit for me. Yeah.
The NFL's
Not much, though. Yeah, I agree.
No,
Yeah,
it's still
agree.
first round.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
gosh, yeah.
The NFL's dragging its feet on Elliott. Okay? If you had to draft tomorrow night, how far does Elliott slide down your draft board?
Let me put it to you this way. I think the most genius thing that could happen is if, let's say you're picking first overall.
Yeah.
Okay. Or second or well, let's go.
No,
first
let's put you third or fourth, where he's probably slotted to go if he was starting week 1.
Yeah, I'm probably taking a receiver there. But what I'm saying is what you have to make sure, and I heard this on a podcast, but if you're in a league with a bunch of guys, right? If the number 1 overall pick takes David Johnson, and you can't let Elliott slip to the point where he can get him
In
on the way
second-
back.
Yeah,
Right.
Big
Do
time.
not allow that. Like, no matter what, you have to make sure that doesn't happen. So
you still think he's going to go in the first 24 picks?
Should.
he will. Somebody will take him. I wouldn't be that person, though.
So you're saying my mock draft pick was genius then? Because I didn't let Albert Pilbeam pick him up on the swing around.
So I'd say that move was genius. Where you took him, no.
I haven't seen the whole draft, so I'm going to reserve my genius remark.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little fantasy football chatter for you guys. Again, it's fantasy football drafts are all right around the corner here. Let's get into a little CFL. Okay,
Yep.
Week 9 just passed. I want to do just a quick little CFL update for our Ottawa listeners as well as all our CFL listeners. So after Week 9, let me just give you an update on the standings. Edmonton's leading the way on the West, 7-1. Calgary 6-1. Winnipeg 6-2. BC 5-4, and Saskatchewan riding up at 3-4. On the East side, not as impressive. We got Toronto 4-5, Montreal 3-5, Ottawa's 2-6, Hamilton's 0-8. The Red Blacks
what a
just
conference.
beat up on Hamilton 37-18.
What a game. What a
It
game.
was a really good game.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw some stats to you guys. Our buddy, and hope to have on the show. We haven't heard from him. We're gonna keep harassing him. Trevor Harris is leading the league in total yards at 2,862, and he's also leading the league in most thrown touchdowns at 18.
Yep.
And from wide receiver perspective, this makes sense. The number 1 wide receiver in the league is Greg Ellison, 904 yards and 6 touchdowns. So they're both leading in both those categories.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ray, and you don't have to check this right now, but I'm pretty sure the number 3 or 4th leading receiver in the league is also an Ottawa guy,
Yes.
the Canadian kid.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't think
Absolutely.
of his name right now,
Yep.
but he's been awesome too. It just shows the Redblacks don't have much of a running game, and their defense just crumbles at the worst times. But they're 3 points out of first place in the weakest Eastern Conference, I think, in the sporting world.
Yeah.
Hey, it's right there for the taking, and if they keep playing like they did that last game, I mean, they didn't play a great team, but
Yeah.
hey.
Well, here's the games for this week coming up. Thursday night, you got Winnipeg versus Montreal. And Friday, you got Saskatchewan at Edmonton. And then Saturday at 4:30 our time, we have BC at Ottawa. So BC's 5-4. That's going to be the TSN turning point of the Ottawa Red Blacks season. If they can win that game against BC, we're off and running. And lastly, on Saturday night at 10 p.m., which nobody will be watching this game because I'll be watching McGregor and Mayweather. That's Toronto playing at Calgary.
I might just watch that.
So that, folks,
Challenge accepted.
is your CFL update. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to take a quick little break here. We have our interview coming up next with Mike Doiron with Victory Boxing Promotions, and we're going to be talking about their latest event from last night, as well as we're going to get into the Mayweather and McGregor fight.
All right.
Okay, so let's just hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, guys, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that quick break from our sponsors. And I want to now welcome Mike Doiron to First Down Sports. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Mike is the owner of Victory Boxing Promotions here in Moncton. So, Mike, first of all, why don't you get in and tell me a little bit, what is Victory Boxing Promotions?
Victory Boxing Promotions is something that my dad and I started 9 years ago now. It's been a long, wild ride. Obviously, I've been involved in the sport of boxing since before I could even walk.
Wow.
My dad was a professional fighter well known in the Moncton area. My dad, Euless. Boxing had kind of become stagnant a little bit in Moncton, and we were probably drinking one night and said, geez, why don't we promote a fight? And it just kind of snowballed from there. We've had 13 or 14 shows now in the region. Nice. Moncton, Shediac, Bucktouche, most recently. We've had some shows at the casino. We've had some small club shows at the Lions Club. Yeah. So it's been a very diverse organization.
So when you're running these promotions, is it mainly local fighters, or do you have fighters coming in from out of town for these promotions?
Wow, I mean, I've had fighters from everywhere. I've had fighters from the England area. I've had fighters from Mexico. My last promotion in April, I brought in 3 Mexican fighters to take on some of our locals. I've had fighters right across the country here in Canada. I've run probably no less than a dozen Canadian title fights. So it's yeah.
When you're bringing these boxers in from like Mexico, like you mentioned, how's it work? Do they pay their way here, and how's that? How do you get these guys?
I really wish it did work that way. It'd be a lot easier on my pocketbook.
Right.
But no, actually, when you're promoting a show, you basically build it from the ground up. So you connect with matchmakers, and you're dealing with managers and negotiating right from the ground up, like I said. So you're negotiating from the venue to renting the equipment, to renting the ring, to negotiating the fighters' purses, how many rounds they're going to fight, who they're going to fight, and all those things.
Yeah, awesome. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say. So, are ranked? Like when they fight in your promotion, are they considered ranked? Like, does that increase their ranking when they win?
It does actually. Usually when you turn pro from having an amateur background, and we have some guys in the area that have never had an amateur fight in their life. They just thought they'd like to throw their ring throw their hat into a boxing ring, and we've had some pretty good successes. Like we have a guy from Elsipogtog, Nathan Millier, who never had an amateur fight in his life, just started boxing in a tournament. They had the next great heavyweight, next great cruiserweight tournament. And he started from there, and he just recently fought for a Canadian title a few months back.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow, that's great. Now, rumor is you used to room with my men's night golf partner and brother-in-law, Marty Rye.
Here we go.
I did.
Anything to start talk about golf? This is really...
I wasn't going to bring up the fact, Mike, that Marty and I are first place heading into the playoffs. I wasn't going to talk about that.
So sorry.
Have you ever been able to get a set of gloves on Marty? Have you ever thought about putting Marty in the ring?
I actually thought about putting Marty in the ring, believe it or not, and a couple of nights. Again, under the influence of a couple, we've had some conversations in the kitchen, and instead of having, because I didn't have any focus pads, but I'd be holding up my mitts, and Marty'd be slapping around, and how's the form, Mike? How's this? How's that? So we had some good times.
How was the form?
He's actually not bad.
Okay.
He's actually got some hand speed for a big guy, and he can pack a wallop.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy.
He certainly is.
Let's talk about a couple local fighters. So, for our listeners that aren't aware of, people around the area, who are some top fighters from around the area that people would want to go pay to see?
As I just mentioned, Nathan Millier has a massive, massive following. We have kids like Dominic Babineau. I happen to be related to Dominic, actually, back in my family tree a little bit. Dominic Babineau won 3 Canadian national titles as an amateur.
Wow.
He's currently, I believe, 7-1 as a pro, and his one only loss is very, very disputed. He took a trip out west to Edmonton to take on another amateur standout, and even the fans in Edmonton booed their local favorite because Dominic should have won the fight. So, he should still be undefeated, but again, very, very big things to expect coming from him. We have a very, very tough female fighter in Annie Mazerel. We had an international champion from Fredericton in Brandon Brewer. Now, I just heard Brandon just fought on Saturday. I heard through the grapevines that he might hang them up, maybe for a bit, maybe for good. But again, really put New Brunswick on the map as far as boxing talent goes.
Okay, now one last question I'll ask you about local boxing is this. So if there's a kid out there or there's an individual out there that wants to get into boxing, where do they go to start a boxing career in Moncton?
Well, in Moncton right now, it's kind of quiet. We do have the Fist Boxing Club just over on St. George Boulevard, right next to where the huge Allsco warehouse is. The Fist Boxing Club is in the basement of that. I don't know. It used to be a school, I believe, or something of that nature. They have their boxing club right there in the basement.
Yeah.
And that's the only place in Moncton where someone could go and learn the craft.
Okay.
So you're saying Mike Tyson Punch-Out will do nothing to teach them how to zero?
Well, I don't know. It might teach you a few little minor techniques here and there, but
Like get out of the way of a punch.
yeah.
All right. So now we got to get into the big. I mean, you're coming on as a boxing expert as far as our panel goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compared to...
And we've been talking about this fight now for months. I mean, back when these two were making jabs back and forth through TMZ before the fight was even announced, we've been talking about this fight. So we're very excited about this fight. Andy, not so much, but I think he's going to get more excited by the time Saturday rolls around.
No, okay.
I'm just trying to lower your expectations because what you guys think is going to happen and what you're so excited about, Mayweather's not an exciting fighter, and this could... Anyway, we're going to talk to an expert, see if he agrees with me.
Tonight was the final promotion of the fight, so I can't wait for our podcast to be over so I can go watch that. But, Mike, give us your spin right now. So there's a few of us in this room right now that are leaning towards McGregor. We love him. Does McGregor stand a chance heading into this fight?
That's kind of a tough question. So to start off, I think I agree. I definitely don't agree with the theory that this is the fight of the century.
Right.
It's absolutely not. It's the event of the century for sure.
There you go.
For sure, because you're basically crossing two worlds, right? Like you're bringing two worlds into one. Does McGregor have a chance? I'm going to say yes. Simply for the fact that he's the bigger guy, he's younger. Do I believe he's going to win? Absolutely not. I think he's stepping into Floyd's world as every expert, as everyone has said, Floyd Mayweather has been the world's best boxer of our era. So he's had punches thrown him by people that have spent their entire life planning for this one fight, and he's beaten them all. And here we have a guy like McGregor who's brash, and he believes in himself, and God love him for that, right? He promoted this fight. He promoted this fight to the point where, they're both going to be filthy, stinking rich, right? Yeah. But I don't believe. I think Floyd's going to be Floyd, and as he said, Floyd is not the most exciting fighter in the world. Very defensive. Now Floyd has made some statements that he's not taking a step back. He's going to come forward and he's going to fight with McGregor.
Right.
Do you believe that?
I do not.
That's promotion.
Yeah.
Correct. I agree with you 100%. It is promotion. Floyd's going to be Floyd, and I think in my prediction, I'll give it to you right now. I believe Floyd's going to be Floyd for the first 3 or 4 rounds. He's going to be defensive. He's going to see what McGregor has to offer. I think after probably the 3rd or 4th round, I think Floyd's going to start to get a little more offensive because he's going to get a little more comfortable in there. He's going to feel McGregor's power. And my actual prediction is I see a stoppage in 6 or 7 in favor of Floyd.
Really?
Now, can I just throw this out to you? Because I did hear these comments, and it made sense to me, okay? And that is, boxing is very much like a dance, if you will. It's whether it's a left-handed or right-handed, it's that rhythm. It's pop, 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 back and forth, right? The one thing that McGregor brings to this match is Mayweather doesn't know what kind of rhythm, like that dance that takes place between two boxers. Yep. It's not there. It's almost Tyson-ish, if you will, where Tyson just came in throwing bombs.
Wow.
I know it's different, but I'm using that as an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that Mayweather is very much of a defensive boxer. You know, he's always on the defense. What do you think about those comments?
Well, and in all honesty, I agree with you in the sense that McGregor is probably going to throw punches from angles that Floyd is not accustomed to seeing.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's very unorthodox in terms of a boxer. So it's not going to be your typical straight, jab, straight left hand, because he is a southpaw.
Right.
So it's not going to be your typical jab, straight left hand, right hook. Right. He's going to be throwing from the floor, from the ceiling, Floyd's going to be, however, again, the artist of his own craft, he's going to adapt to that. Right.
Yeah.
That's.
What about the fact that another thing McGregor brings is because he's MMA and he knows 8 different methods of fighting, right? From jiu-jitsu and all these different methods.
Yeah. Which are not relevant here.
Which aren't relevant, but the stances, will that throw Mayweather off? And the fact that he can show different looks throughout this fight just from a stance that he might make.
No, I mean, you can't throw punches with your feet, right?
Right. Those stances are designed for those fighting styles, right? And which he can't use. So, Mike, help me with this. So there's 2 things that I keep hearing, and help me pour some water on this, okay? The first thing I hear is that Floyd Mayweather has never been hit as hard as Conor McGregor can hit. And the second thing I keep hearing is McGregor can take a punch like nobody Mayweather's ever fought. So I was watching Sugar Shane Mosley was on ESPN recently, and when he heard that people are saying McGregor hits harder than anybody Mayweather's ever boxed, he took offense to that because he said, I definitely hit way harder than him. And he went off and he named a bunch of guys that probably hit a lot harder. And the way he explained it was McGregor doesn't hit like a boxer. He hits like an MMA fighter. And I want you to dive into that a little bit for me. And then the other thing that I was arguing with these guys last week, and I'm no expert in boxing at all, but yeah, McGregor can take a hit, but nobody can take that many hits over and over again. So people have said, like, he's just going to leave his chin out there and just take a few or whatever, like almost like it's Rocky, 4, like hit me, It's not going to work. His eyes are going to be swollen shut, and it's going to stop at some point if that happens. So throw some water on those 2 things for me, please.
That's exactly like you're of the same opinion as me. I mean, okay, nobody that Floyd has ever faced hits as hard as McGregor. How do we know? How do we know that? Who determines that? Because the guys that McGregor's fought have never been hit by Shane Mosley. They've never been hit by Canelo Alvarez. They've never been hit by Manny Pacquiao. So, I mean, that's Conor claiming that he's the hardest hitter that Floyd's ever faced.
Yeah.
False.
So many people believe him.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Again, because he's made them believe him, right?
Yeah,
he
right,
believes
yeah.
in himself so much that, and anyone, you could take, a boxer, again, that's never had a fight in his life, starts fighting, starts beating people, and starts being that brash about himself, and I can do this and I can do that, and people are going to start to believe you.
Yeah.
If you're knocking everybody out, if you're beating everybody, people are going to start believing you can conquer the world,
Right.
which is what McGregor's got people convinced of. I forget the second question.
Yeah, so the second thing is just flat out like, McGregor can take a punch. So if he actually sits there and takes enough, because Mayweather's not known as a knockout artist, right? He's never really knocked a lot of guys out, but if McGregor sits there and takes those hits, I mean, TKO is likely, right? I mean,
agreed. In my opinion, like, again, he can take a hit, but he's taking one. And he claims, Floyd has never taken a shin to the face or never taken, this shot to the face, but McGregor's going to take an accumulation of punishment. And not only to the head, he's going to take body shots that he's not accustomed to taking round after round after round. Mm-hmm. And again, Floyd is a counter-punching genius. So McGregor's going to be hit like he's never been hit.
Yeah. So my last question for tonight is, it has been ruled they're now going to 8-ounce gloves versus 10-ounce gloves. Everybody talks about this as a benefit to McGregor. What are your thoughts there? Is this really a big deal for this matchup, going from 10 to 8?
It's a bit of a big deal. Again, like I said, McGregor's naturally the bigger guy. But again, if he's landing glancing punches off Floyd, I think it's going to benefit Floyd, to be honest. Because if he's landing glancing punches on Floyd and Floyd's landing his shots on the button, it's only going to take less rounds and less punches to cause more punishment.
Right.
So again, if McGregor can land clean, sure, it could become to his advantage. However, I think, like I said, my prediction is 6 or 7 rounds, and I think those 8-ounce gloves are just going to prove that the less Floyd gets hit and the more McGregor gets hit, it's going to turn into a Mayweather advantage.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys.
Well, I got a few things here. So I know you don't want to give me a shot here. But
Go ahead.
I'm going to jump
Go
in.
ahead.
So the big things that
We're
they
going
say
down to
with
4-ounce gloves.
with unorthodox, like the big, like, because I do think that there's a puncher's chance. I do think McGregor has a puncher's chance. But like any boxer, you have someone that has a heavier shot, you can always land that shot and you can always win. But is his higher than anyone else? Who knows, like you said. But there's a couple that they said, they've never seen an unorthodox type of fighter before in boxing, which I disagree with. I used to be much bigger into boxing before. So what do you think of like a Prince Nazim or a Macho Camacho? Like those were boxers back in the day that had kind of a, maybe not fully unorthodox, but they had that kind of different stance. You know, I think Prince Nazim has more of a kind of a feel of what, you know, when he stands back, how Conor does that, you know, gets back in that stance and does his leg, you know, moves his body around like that. I feel like that's more of a style of what we're going to most likely see in this match. Similar, obviously not the same.
Right. No, and I agree. Like, you've had fighters in the past who have done the Conor-ish type movements. Prince Nassim Ahmed is a prime example. You watch him, he puts his hands behind his back. You know, he kind of shakes around like a snake. It's very McGregor-ish. And again, I mean, don't think for 1 second that Floyd hasn't studied the movements of McGregor as well, right? And brought in guys that can mimic that type of movement.
Yeah.
You know, Floyd Mayweather is Floyd Mayweather for a reason. He's made hundreds and hundreds of $1 million perfecting his craft, studying his opponents, and making adjustments to beat every single style that has ever been put in front of him.
Yeah.
Great point. You know, I first, before you got in, I was like, I was leaning more. At first, I was my first thought was, as a boxer, like, you know, no way a boxer is going to be beaten in a boxer's environment. Then I started leaning more towards, well, he could, you know, close that ring down and you know, make it smaller for him. But now I'm going more to the other side of you. You make solid points.
Chris, you've converted.
Bandwagon.
It's not
Logic is so powerful.
It is logic. It's logic.
There's an old song from back in the day. Don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
Don't believe the hype. Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. That's our McGregor Mayweather discussion. I think it's pretty clear. We've come to a decision that McGregor will win an 8.
What do we call it?
But-
I say it. Let's put it down there. What are we going with?
All right, let's make a call. Andy, what do you got?
I mean, I was going to say TKO around the 5th round. I'll drag that out to about the 7th because there's an expert here. But yeah.
Okay, Chris, make your call.
I'm gonna go with it goes to the end, and it's gonna be decision for Mayweather.
You think it's going to go all 12 rounds, and Mayweather will get the decision?
The most boring possible outcome.
Yeah,
Yes.
just like that.
Not a chance.
Go ahead,
Not a
Mike.
chance in the world. I'm going to stick with my prediction. Actually, I'm going to turn it back around. I'm going to say Mayweather in 6.
Mayweather in 6. Wow.
Woo.
Nick, what do you got at the back of the table?
I still have 5 rounds, Connor.
5 rounds. Well, I'm still loyal to
He's a
Scotland.
fisherman.
Never watched a boxing match in his life.
I only win them.
I'm still staying loyal to Ireland. My good buddy Patrick O'Malley over there. And I'm staying with Conor in 8. Conor in 8, he's going to knock him out. All right, guys, that's our boxing wrap up. Mike, thanks again for coming in.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
All right,
I really appreciate
hopefully
it.
we'll have you on here again, and we'll talk about the next big fight coming up.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
All right, so I want to thank Mike Doiron for coming by First Down Sports again. That was a great interview.
Awesome.
I loved his thoughts on
Great guy.
loved his thoughts on the upcoming fight this weekend, and loved the fact that we learned more about Victory Boxing Promotions. So we'll have to make sure that we attend the next one. Before we get out of here tonight, let's go to some final thoughts. Chris, let's start with you down at the end of the table. You look like you're itching to get your thoughts out.
Right. So I thought we were going to talk about this earlier today. I jumped on a little a story today that shows that Brock Osweiler is not the Browns starter any longer. Mm-hmm. So I thought, Andy, being the specialist of the Browns, that you would have some input on this.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in Cleveland? You traded for this guy.
Listen, well, I mean, we traded for a second-round pick, clearly, right? And we had to take him along to get it. I think the coaches really wanted this guy to win the job. I actually truly believe that. They really wanted this guy to win the job, maybe rejuvenate his career, and give the rookie some time, Kaiser, who's been named the starter. But ultimately, he just fell on his face. He lost the job, and the rookies put up every point that we've put up in our 2-0 preseason start. So what are you going to do?
So you're saying,
I've heard that his agent is like furious with this.
Okay.
Like he's really ticked.
My client, Barack Leicester!
Pissed.
Yeah.
He sounds.
Listen, he's got little tidbits of talking to management.
The last name is missing a syllable. Is this manager Ray? Like, what's going on?
Great. Yeah. Chris
That's all
plays,
I got.
Chris plays a bit like that, and I still get thrown under the bus. All right.
But his best friend, Brock Osweiler.
Oh, you saved it. You saved the bit entirely. It was awesome. It was great. Yeah.
Andy, what's your thoughts before we get out of here?
2 things, folks. I need you to join this pick 'em pool. Why not take us on? There's nothing to lose, everything to gain. Well, there's free beer to be gained.
Free beer.
Maybe a shirt. A tie maybe. Who knows, right? So I'll post the link to join the pick 'em pool in the description of the video if you're watching on YouTube. We have it up on the site. If you want to join, reach out to us, and we'll send it out again through every social media source we really have.
Yeah.
If you are watching on YouTube, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down at the bottom of your screen here, because some people really seem to prefer that medium, so we're putting a lot of effort into it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Nick, any thoughts at the back of the room there?
Go Connor.
Go Connor. Nice. I like
excited
it.
about
I
the
like
fight.
it.
All right.
All right. Before I get into my final thoughts, as always, I want to thank our sponsors. Once again, we want to thank Moosehead. Any night of the week, especially this weekend for the fight, make sure you go get yourself some Moosehead. This stuff's scary good. Scary good. And if you need some McGregor hats, shirts, T-shirts, whatever the case may be, go see our boys at Doyle's Corporate Image. They're going to make those for you.
Those rule.
Doyle rules.
And for the fight, you got to be eating some food, right? You don't want that food to suck. So make sure you go out and get yourself some done right buffalo sauce and do those chicken wings or ribs or whatever you're doing.
Chicken wing.
Do them up right. Fix them up.
Make them not suck.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my final thoughts to end the week, boys. We talked about the AUS a little earlier. I am working a new position in my game on Saturday. It's my first time working a regular season game. I will be on the sideline about 15, 20 yards deep on the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage. And when you're watching the games, whether it's NFL, CFL, whatever the case may be, and those controversial pass interference calls come up downfield.
Yeah.
That's me this weekend.
All right.
So you're going to be seeing calls on Bell TV. It's Bell TV
Bell
it's
TV.
on.
Andy and I may be there. Give you a hard time.
As a Mount A alumni, I may get a little discount to get into this game.
Awesome.
As you said, the students aren't even there yet, so there should be some room on those sidelines.
There should
So you might get some live footage next week of the odd PI call gone wrong.
There you go. Well,
2 unknown people may be giving someone a very hard time on the sidelines.
yeah, I hope you guys are there. I love getting razzed on the field. I get it all the time. I hear my number being shouted out all the time, and especially at Mount A, it's such a great crowd. And the great thing about Mount A is that even though the students won't be back this week, there will still be 1,500, 2,000 people at that game. Sackville packs people in for football games.
It does.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my final thought there. The last thing I want to say getting out of here is good luck to all the people doing fantasy drafts this week. And don't forget, Connor and 8. Enjoy the fight, guys.
All right. See you next time.
Good luck to Kaiser, the new starting quarterback for the Browns. Kaiser, so saying.